Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. This is Earth. So we recently had the privilege of working with one of our clients in developing an internal developer platform. And we'd like to share that adventure with you today. So let's get started.
Hi, thanks, Michael. So the ultimate goal of the software development is to deliver the business value as early as possible with highest quality as possible. And to do so, we have to go through a lot of steps that can be categorized into two types. One is the development, which include plan, analyze, design, implement, test, and build. And another side is the operation, where we maintain what we have been built. This includes deploy and release to the production, gather the feedback from the consumers, observe and monitor the system, and continuously improve the product. So traditionally, the development and operation has been taken care by each respective team, and it's causing the tension between each other, where the development priority is to deliver the features at all costs, whereas the operation would like to maintain the system availability as possible, let's say in terms of 24/7 or 99.99%. To reduce the tension, there's another concept, which is the cross-functional team, where we merge the development and operation team together to reduce the tension. But it just leads up to another problem, where right now one team needs to take care of both development and operation. I need to understand the underlying technologies, the knowledge required to deliver the business value, which can be seen as overwhelming. To visualize these challenges more, I would like to show you a couple of pictures. So the first one is the grocery store. You've been to the grocery store to buy the consumer goods. And there will be a moment where you need to compare the products, which can be seen as very same product, but the different thing is just only the branding or minor properties. And the second one is the landscape of cloud native foundation, which includes the tools and frameworks that address the concerns of the cloud computing. This includes the database, configuration and secret management, deployment platform, observability tool, and etc. So there's a common thing between the grocery store and cloud native foundation landscape, which is the excessive number of choices. And why it matters to the software development then? So according to the study called the Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz, we see that if we have the excessive number of choices, it's more likely that the people will be unsatisfied of the choice they just made. For example, let's say you choose an outfit to go and attend the XCon today. You might be thinking, okay, after I leave the house, and what if I wear the black instead of pink? Or what if I have another shirt, like 99 shirts in the closet or whatever? So we end up unsatisfied overall. Same thing goes with the software development, where the cross-functional team needs to choose the tools and frameworks, compare it one by one, spending a lot of time and effort, causing the anxiety and stress. After they choose, they will end up, hey, I should use another framework. I need to live with it for the 1 year, god damn it. Whereas the organization needs to maintain and spend many additional costs to maintain those tools. But just because we say that, hey, we have too many choices, it doesn't mean that we don't need any choice at all. Because it's lack of the flexibility and customization to adapt to the user needs. So with these challenges, we need to identify the foundation that find the sweet spot of the number of ability of choices, not too many and not too few. Whereas we solve and reduce the underlying complexity that the developer has to face day by day. So next, I will hand over to Michael to introduce to us an internal developer platform.
Thank you. So what is an internal developer platform? This is a quote by Evan Bottcher explaining what it is. I'm not going to read it all. However, I'm going to highlight some key points. Also, through the duration of our conversation, we're going to use the term platform instead of internal developer platform. So the first point, there we go, it's the foundation. A platform is a soil where your digital products are going to grow. Your customers are never going to see your platform, but they are going to feel it. They're going to feel its impact through faster, more reliable services. Next, self-service and reduced coordination. Your development team should not have to wait to get approval to start using the platform. They should be able to self-service it, to get it up and running, to get what they want when they need it, and start moving forward. Next is knowledge and support. Your platform is backed by documentation, and it's backed by a support team to get the teams going. Next, compelling. Your platform should be so good that your development teams won't want to use anything else. Out of all the choices that were available to them, they should just want to use your platform. Product. We want to bring a product mindset when developing a platform. We want to treat it like any other product that we're developing for external customers. This means ongoing updates and continual improvements. And reduction in cognitive load. Your development teams have enough on their plate. We want to abstract some of the undifferentiated capabilities from their work and have the platform take care of it so they can focus on what truly matters, which is building amazing products. Let's look at a typical organization. Here we have an organization that has multiple development teams, and each development team is building this capability. Some of them may be building it very similarly. Some may be building it in very different ways. But unfortunately, there's a lot of repetition of work between these teams. So in comes the platform team. The platform team is going to build a platform capability. That way these teams before can stop using what they were using before and ingest the platform capability instead. What are these capabilities? So here's a very small sample of what your platform capabilities could look like. They cover a wide range of domains and many different areas. Our goal is not to build all of these things, but to choose the ones that make the most sense.
Right. So the example that we're going to leverage throughout our adventure is the CI/CD pipeline. The goal of the CI/CD pipeline is to move the changes from the local environment of the developers to the designated deployment environment. Now, some of the CI/CD providers offer the features where you can build your own pipeline by graphical user interface, where you can build, drag and drop the box and connecting each line to build your own workflow without writing any code. It's kind of convenient, yeah? But the problem is on when it scale. Because if, let's say, we introduce 5 or 10 small applications, the development team needs to end up dragging and dropping, reconnecting the lines over and over again. The only different things is just only renaming. But some developer might think, hey, why don't we just write a script? Writing the script can be overwhelming to some developers because they need to end up learning the in-depth technologies of the CI/CD providers, including the syntax and the expression, which is just only one time off, but it can be seen as overwhelming. So the platform team can provide the CI/CD capabilities by providing the CI/CD pipeline as a service, where it provides the minimal configuration file that can be translated to the predefined pipeline script and hand over to the developers to apply to their each application. And then, bam, they will have this automated CI/CD pipeline generated in their system and deploy the application to the designated environment successfully. So, without further ado, let our adventure begins. So, in our adventure, we're going to separate into 4 phases. And each phase, we will introduce you the challenges that we face, how we overcome all of them, and the result for the greater good. So in the first challenge is first phase is the access and recommend. As the name suggests, we provide the recommendations to the clients on do we ever need a platform? Or if so, how are we going to provide the platform that solves their problems? With that, we face a couple of challenges. So the first one is that in organization, there are so many problems to solve. But due to the time and budget constraint, we can't manage to solve all the problem in one go. Or we can find any silver bullet that solves every solution once and for all. Therefore, we need to identify the first problem to solve, which is the most painful problem that developers need to face on a daily basis. Next, we don't want to overlook the risk of introducing the platform. For example, in our CI/CD pipeline adventure, we don't want, let's say we introduce the minimal configuration file that can be applied to the application. But it turns out that it's more complicated than developers ending up writing the syntax and expression by themselves. They won't hesitate to choose the latter one over using the platform. Another example is that, let's say we want to introduce an additional step in the pipeline that our own belief that, hey, is improve the quality. But it turns out that it blocks the path to production, which as a result, it impedes the business value generation. So next, we're going to talk about how the key principle that we're going to leverage to overcome these challenges.
Right, so when building this platform, we wanted to establish some key principles, some guidelines to inform our decision-making process. The first one is consumer first. We wanted to make sure that we were building exactly what the consumer needed. We also wanted to weigh the experience of our development teams when making any decision. Next, we wanted to provide a paved road. We wanted to have defaults that made sense for the different teams. We know that any solution won't solve the problems of every team. However, our goal was to choose solutions that had the highest amount of impact for most of our teams. We also didn't want to prevent teams from choosing other solutions if it made more sense in their context. So we gave teams the ability to turn on or turn off different capabilities as they found they needed to. We wanted to be enablers over gatekeepers. We wanted to provide capabilities that had teams moving faster instead of slowing them down. An example of this would be like a test code coverage policy. Though in theory, test code coverage policies are very good, they can actually slow down a team if they're not ready for it yet. Last, we wanted to be a product over a project. We wanted to have long-running teams that we could iterate over our solution and keep improving. Unlike projects, which tend to have short-run teams, that the solution once made is maybe hardly ever maintained. So looking at our capability map here, the question is what do we build? So the goal is to choose a couple of these items through prioritization and finding out where we're going to have the most impact. Once we have these things, we're going to build it in what we call a thin slice manner. We want to make sure that what we build is desirable, usable, and functional while building across the entire tech stack. We don't want to build horizontally only in one stack. So what this looks like is while we are developing our platform, we are making changes to the underlying infrastructure, as well as thinking about how our consumer teams are going to ingest the platform. Let's look how we know we've succeeded.
All right. So there are many areas that we can measure the success of our recommendations. For instance, if our platform goal is to boost up the software delivery performance comparing against the various companies around the world, we can leverage the accelerate metrics, or you might know as a dollar metrics or 4 key metrics. In our CI/CD pipeline adventures, we leverage 2 of them, which are the deployment frequency and lead time to change. The key essence of these metrics are you need to understand how these numbers that you got are coming from. For example, we might see that, hey, we have very high deployment frequency. We'll be successful. But if you take a look at it deeper, then you might see that these numbers are from those deployments for hot fixes in the production issues, which indicating the poor software quality. Then let's take a look at another side of the platform goal is also to optimize the software developers' productivity. and satisfaction, then we can leverage the stress metrics to measure the sentiments of them in terms of the engineering effectiveness. These are very qualitative measurements. Therefore, we need to leverage the net promoter score to convert them into the quantitative ones so that we can measure them over time. Last but not least, we have the voluntary adoption rate. Since we want to build the platform to be as compelling as possible, then we can see how big impact that the platform made in the organization so that the organization can keep investing in the platform in the long run. So the approach that we use in this assess and recommend phase is we conduct the user interviews. The majority of the audience will always be the developers. We still cover the business analysts, quality analysts, and product owners. Here are some of the questions that we ask them. Hey, what is your typical day-to-day software development will look like? What is your main blocker that blocks you from deploying application to the environment? How long does it take for you to build a CI/CD pipeline from the scratch? And that's why we came up with the problem statement that we mentioned before embarking the adventures. Not only that, we also conduct the research within and outside the client organization. The advantage of the Thoughtworks is that we have been experienced in various industries and domains. So we can study from our past successful and failed case studies to understand how to adopt the platform organization. For example, do we need a platform at all? Or how to adopt the CI/CD pipeline to the organization? Or do we need to build or to buy the platform? So the outcome of the assess and recommend is that we recommend the clients to build the CI/CD pipeline as a service. We cover with the underlying four informations. What are the risks occur by introducing the new platform? What assumption that we make in order to make a progress? What fact that we know and unknown so far? And over time, we need to eliminate unknowns as much as possible to build a realistic delivery roadmap and timeline as possible. We also cover the other information such as why we need to build a platform, who will be our target users, what the success will look like, and last but not least, what capabilities that we are going to provide in these slides. So that's it, and for assess and recommend, let's talk about the next phase.
So we've done our assessment, we've given our recommendations. Our next phase is baseline and prove. Our goal here is to build our MVP. We want to prove the assumptions we made in the last phase as quickly as possible so we can get feedback. So challenges during this phase was that we looked across all the teams and there was very inconsistent tooling among them. They also had very different code structures. Even though we've done a bit of research into the teams, we still have very limited insight into the nuances of how teams operate. We don't understand fully all the internal and external issues that they may be facing. So things like ways of working, their approval processes, even things like their licensing restrictions. So how do we address these issues?
So now, since we know that we cannot build the platform that everyone in the organization loves, but we can still build the platform that loves most of them. So we have to build the paved road. So instead of customizing the platform to accommodate everyone's organization, we will build the lines of buffets that provide the capabilities with the open-ended engineering practices, processes, tools, and frameworks to accommodate the majority of them. So the benefit is that the developers just grab the capabilities and put on their plates, whereas the platform team just maintain only certain limited tools and frameworks without getting too overwhelmed. In our CI/CD pipeline adventures, we have the standardized to let the developers deploy into only one deployment platform. But if some developers would like to deploy in other platform going off-road, that's happy because breaking the rules may create innovation. But those teams may need to proceed with caution. The only thing that platform team can provide is the knowledge and support to guide them to adopt the platform with the seamless experience as possible. Not only we need to build the paved road, but we also need to build the right abstraction. The abstraction is the language and model that shield the user from the underlying complexity. What is the complexity, by the way? So in the CI/CD pipeline venture, for example, they want to deploy the application to the certain deployment platform with the highest availability as possible. But the developers don't need to worry too much about the underlying technologies in details of that deployment platform. They don't want to learn and study that much about the deployment, how to configure the deployment mechanism to guarantee the availability. And these are the things that the platform team can hide. And those things, if they hide, they can still transparent enough for them to observe and respond by themselves. On the right side, we don't say that the organization should not build a platform that accommodates for every programming language. But they should think about the cost and effort to maintain the building script of every programming language, although it has been used only one user in your organization. So next, let's see how we can put ourselves into the developer's shoes.
So to solve the problem of us not understanding our teams, we found that we really had to establish empathy with our internal developers. To do so, we hired product managers and brought them into the team so they can go and understand the development teams, that they can understand their pain points and their point of view and bring that back to the platform team. We had very high collaboration during this phase. We wanted to get as much feedback as possible. And at this phase, we also wanted to capture our measures of success. We looked at satisfaction metrics. We wanted to make sure what we were doing as we progressed was the right thing. We also looked at like DORA metrics, so we could capture what they were doing pre the platform, so we had a baseline to compare to moving forward after they adopted the pipeline. So our strategy for this phase was our buffet over a la carte. We wanted to have defaults that made sense over individual customization. We wanted to be developer friendly and functional. We wanted to be easy to use, and we wanted to get the job done. This led us to streamlining our processes, integrating the tools into our platform to move forward. So this is our outcome of our MVP. It is a pipeline as a service. Teams can just simply import or include the platform into their project. From there, all teams would have to do is create a configuration file. We provided all the configurations necessary to get the platform running. Once they added the configuration file, they would add the values that made sense for their project, including how to enable or disable certain features. We would then take in those values and we would automatically generate a custom pipeline for that team. All right, let's look at the next phase.
So after the baseline improved, we got an MVP, and early adopters are satisfied with how the platform can solve their problems. So the next phase is the seed and scale, where we welcome new adopters to the platform. That means we welcome new requirements, we welcome new scale, and of course, we welcome new challenges. So the first challenge that we face is that we have been renowned by the early adopters, but in some developers might not be known that we are here or the platform already exists. And it's a lose-lose situation since the platform team also lose the adoption, losing the opportunity to get the constructive feedback to continuously improve the platform. Whereas the development team lose the opportunity to gain the benefit from having the platform. We also get the constructive feedback from early adopters that the experience of adopting the platform needs improvement. For instance, there was once that the platform team's work in progress interrupt the CI/CD pipeline of adopters due to the defects, causing the breaking change, blocking the path to production, impeding the business value generation. They also lack of the guidelines and walkthrough to be able to adopt the platform by themselves, ending up having to go back to the platform team and ask us to onboard each one service, one application by one. So let's see how we overcome these challenges.
To solve the problem of development teams not knowing who we are, we found that we had to do some marketing, similar to how you would for any external product. We gave ourselves a name. We did a little bit of branding. We published case studies and success stories of our early adopters. We did so in places like the company newsletter. We did demos and showcases, not just to other development teams, but also to product owners, business stakeholders, and other key roles. We opened up additional feedback channels so we can continually know what we should do next and what we should build. And being at Thoughtworks, we thankfully have many industry experts and many thought leaders who were able to come in and talk to the client, sharing not just about platforms, but also maybe other capabilities that we were interested in bringing in, such as testing. In terms of solving the problem with inconsistency and inefficiency of onboarding teams, as well as improve the self-service nature of the platform, we found that documentation was a wonderful tool. We use this model here. We didn't make this up. This is the Diataxis model. We know that there's many different types of learners and many different use cases for documentation. So here, we see on the bottom here, this shows us the nature of information, where on the y-axis, we see the context it's used for. So if something is very work-related and very practical, we have our how-to guides. So things like how to adopt a pipeline as a service. So this is a step-by-step guide on how to adopt the pipeline to get a team up and running. If it's more study-oriented but still practical, we had tutorials for our development teams, like getting started with cloud computing. Again, a step-by-step guide, but more for their personal study instead of work. If it was theoretical and it was for study, we have our explanations, like what is a platform, teaching them what it is, the pros and cons, when to use it, when not to use it. And if it was for work-related and theoretical, we have our reference material. This is where you would put things like your feature lists and your release notes. Let's look at the outcome.
Yeah, so the outcome of the seed and scale is that we still have the same CI/CD pipeline as a service. The things that we add is we add an additional step to enhance the software quality of the developers based on the developers' feedback. We also introduced the versioning to prevent the incidents where the platform team's work in progress interrupt the CI/CD pipelines of the adopters. We also want to catch defects early. So therefore, we come up with a new testing strategy to dissect each step of the CI/CD pipeline that highlighted in red here and test all of them in parallel and isolation. So not only we get the fast feedback, but we also manage to create and reproduce the more corner cases with the minimal cost and effort. Last but not least, we have the adoption dashboard, where it consists of the list of the services available in the organization, with the specific information such as what is the pipeline version that they're using, how many features they have been adopted, and the specific information about the features such as the code coverage. We use the adoption dashboard as a measure of success of our internal marketing strategy, and also use as a springboard to nudge the adopters to upgrade their platform into the latest version so that they can get the latest offering to enhance their software quality over time. Next, we're going to talk about the last phase of our adventure.
So now we have many new adopters into our platform. Our next phase is the evolve and support phase. We are not a project, we are a product. So what that means is we're going to continue evolve and move forward. This means new features. With new features, we're going to get new requirements. With new requirements, it adds more and more complexity. Our simple pipeline that we started with is now growing into something more. So we have to look at our capabilities that we had before. And again, the goal is not to build all these capabilities, but to choose ones that make the most sense, delivering the most impact. We're still going to do this in a thin sliced manner, building each capability one at a time. Let's look at how our interactions with our different development teams changed over time.
So we're gonna do the quick role playing here. I will be the developer, whereas Michael will be the platform team members. So in the early phases, we need to rely on very high collaboration between the platform team and developers to understand, learn each from each other, the pain points and how the platform can solve. And here you go like this.
Hey Earth, I'm thinking of developing a CI/CD pipeline to try to abstract some of the things that you're doing and the other teams are doing to make it easier for the organization as a whole. How does that sound?
Okay, that's great. I'm lazy to drag and dropping another pipeline. How about you start?
All right, so what we need from you is we'll just sit down, we'll see exactly how you're currently doing the process. And then after we see how you're doing the process, you can explain some of your pain points and we can iterate as we go.
Okay, that sounds great. So moving on to the seed and scale phase, we will transition from collaboration to the enablement, where the platform team will send one of the representatives to enable the developers to use the platform. And it will go like this. Hey, Michael.
Hey.
I want to adopt the pipeline, build the pipeline automatically. I heard it from some of the teams in the organization. Where to start?
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we have it up and running. What we can do is we can send one of our team members over to you, and they'll help you getting started on the process.
All right, let's get paired together and prioritize. Last but not least, the evolve and support phase. We will transition from enablement to the self-services, where the platform team and developers will interact each other via the platform, and we go like this. Hey, Michael, I heard from the newsletter that we have the platform in organization. I want to get started. So, and I already read the documentation, but I still have a question. So, can you help on that?
Absolutely. So I'm glad you've already looked at the documentation. Most of it's there to help you get started and up and running. We're happy to still support you as you need, but the documentation really is the go-to place.
All right, let's see what we can do.
While we were going through this process of evolve and support, we really found that platform development is just like any other software development. All your core values, all your best practices, all your processes that you're currently using for product development, you're going to continue to use during platform development. Our strategy during this entire phase was really to engage our stakeholders as early as possible, and you saw how that engagement changed over time. We also utilized many different methodologies for clearly communicating to get the feedback we needed so we can continue to iterate and improve. Let's look back at our whole journey.
Although the adventure of the platform is never ending, but we still can manage to sit back, relax, and enjoy what we have learned so far. So we learned that the platform can reduce cost and effort and number of decisions that the developers have to go through in order to generate a business value. A big plus for the new joiners who can get up to speed quicker to deliver the business value early. However, there is another side of the coin where the platform cannot solve. Although the platform reduces the coordination, but in early phases, we still need a high coordination because in order to establish the platform, we need to talk to other teams and other departments to come up with the requirements. But if the organization doesn't decide to accommodate those seamless communication and collaboration, it will make the adventure of building the platform more challenging. The platform also cannot solve the application that has very poor performance and poor scalability. And it can be getting worse because the platform builds the abstraction, so it will shield the developers from the underlying complexity, making it less visible for the organization to understand the risk. Same thing goes with the prioritization. The platform cannot reduce the tension between the development and operation incentives. We also learned that the organization who can get benefit from the platform will have an increasing number of developers. We talk about in terms of hundreds. Why? Because we can see the trends of them doing the same thing over and over again with just slightly different way. The platform might not be benefit in the small organization where they have 10 developers because we cannot see those trends. Plus, they might be in the experimental or discovery phase. A big plus for the organization who can nudge the team towards the certain requirements, for instance, the security and compliance. However, if the organization in each team has their own very own unique requirements, very own unique tools and frameworks, it's unlikely for us to build the standardization and pave road that accommodates the majority developers in the organization. So, throughout the adventure, here are some key takeaways that you can get from our adventure.
If you're looking at implementing your own internal developer platform, these are some key points to think about. First off, developers are your users. You need to focus on the developer experience. We advise standardization over individual customization. We want those defaults that make sense for the majority of teams. We also want to treat the platform as the same as any other software development that you do for your products. We hope that sharing our adventure helps you start your own adventure in developing an internal developer platform. We just want to thank you. My name is Michael. This is Earth. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us throughout the conference. We'll be out in the hallway. Thank you very much.